Okay. Okay. Bangladesh. This is a story of a country that started its journey like it's has been just 50 years that Bangladesh has got its freedom. It's a story of 50 years of Bangladesh. And okay. And a country like in the beginning of the country's starting of the country's first walk in the international ground, Bangladesh was literally begging from other countries like for its food, shelter, education, and a right to live. So this country has pretty much covered a huge journey in a very short period of time. Excuse me. Touch screen to
আচ্ছা আপনাকে দেখে দেয় অন্য কোনো কিছু শুরু করতে এটা টাচ করুন
Okay, it's like a single swipe.
Exactly.
Okay.
This side for চলে আসবে আপনি এখানে স্টার্ট করুন
Okay. আপনি থাকলে বেটার হয় লাইক ওকে start করব. Okay, Bangladesh, a story of 50 years, a country who sought his independence just a mere 50 years ago, a country who started its journey from begging till to the superpowers, like one of the most stable economy of Asia. Now, as we know, like Bangladesh, first thing first, in 1971, a country who started from the very basic, like it did not have shelter, it did not have money for food, it did not have food, like money for anything, literally anything. A country who was just struck by a famine and a war was just building from 1971. But if we see now in 1918 and 1919 GDP, Bangladesh shook the whole world. It has a GDP growth rate of 88.13%, whereas India and Pakistan was way below. And even in the in 1920, whereas all the countries like in Asia, all the countries who were suffering from coronavirus pandemic was still staggering with their GDP. Countries like India was staggering at 8% and Pakistan, which was just as little as 0.5%. Now here we need to see something that Pakistan, like 50 years ago, this country just sought its independence from a very much, what do you call it, well established government with its military power at its peak, with its money, with its foreign currency, with its reserve and everything at its peak. Right now, Bangladesh, who sought the independence, is way higher than the country it was originally reformed. Not only that, we can see also that the per head capita income of Bangladesh have increased very recently, like increased very rapidly in the recent years, and also the foreign exchange reserve, which saw an all-time high in this year August. And not only that, Bangladesh in 2021 also Bangladesh had a GDP growth of 5.1%, which was the highest in all of Asia. Like basically Asia was hit by the coronavirus pandemic during the 2020, and all the countries except for China was seeing a huge economic disaster. During that time, Bangladesh managed to cope with the disaster. Not only that, they also boost their foreign exchange reserve, which was 408060 million USD during that time. And also after that, Bangladesh sanctioned a loan of 200 million USD, also flexing his economic muscle in the regional area, where it showed that they had a presence and excuse me. And showed that in the regional zone of Asia, they're also a country and they are developing. Nowadays, billion-dollar projects for Bangladesh are just another luxury and also a way to show its dominance in the Asia Pacific region. I guess that's the end of it, right? Okay. Now, about not only that, Bangladesh has not developed economically and has not created a zone only for its people. A country who was struck by war, again, I repeat that a country who was recently struck by war only 50 years ago. More than a million, a crore of refugees from Bangladesh went to India and stayed there. Now the country itself, it has developed so much that the country itself is sheltering more than a million Rohingya refugees. And not only that, Bangladesh has been a leading role model for refugees keeping in the world and how to protect refugees, their human rights. Bangladesh have created a role model in the world for that. And they have created a temporary settlement and a temporary solution for the Rohingyas until and unless they can return their country. So here Bangladesh has taught the world that it is not necessary to be only the to develop in the economic sector, but it is also necessary for a human and for especially for a country to develop as a original human being. Thank you. That's the end of it. Yeah, that's the end of it. Can you take this off?
Sure.